hope you've had a lovely weekend and raring to go today. So we're going to be now looking at our next scene. So on Friday we were looking at the first scene, the first main part that happened to your story, and today we're going to be moving on to looking at our second scene. So for our spag lesson today, we're going to be looking at suffixes. Now, our last lesson we were looking at prefixes, which were before a root word, and this time we're going to look at suffixes, which are going to be after the root word. So you might have, whilst we're talking through the examples of what are suffixes, you might think straight away, oh, I can think of this word, oh, I can think of this word. So we've got ed, ly, less, s, ing, ness, ation, us, est, full, and yeah. So we got lots of different ones. Now I just want you to have a look at these, and I want you to think of just quick fire out some words when you think you've heard them. So for example, I might look at ed and I might go talked, walked, or shouted. So I've got some words where they've got ed. I've got ly, which are my adverbs. So I've got quickly, slowly, quietly. So see, quick fire, see if you can just think of some words where they end with the same ending as these. So a suffix is a group of letters used at the end of the root word to turn it into another word. So for example, if you have your garden, if you are a gardener, so you put er on the end, that is the person that does the gardening. Same with that, if you put in, gardening, that's the action that you're doing. Shine, if something's shining, it obviously means it's bright, it's sparkling, or if you shine, it might mean that you're bright as well. So a suffix is added to the end of a root word, which is either a whole word or part of a word to form a new word. So for example, if I look at ing, I've got multiply, which is the root word, and I've got ing, which I will add to the end of it. So I've got multiplying. So I know that that can be a maths terminology. If you're happy, it means that you're really happy, you're enjoying something. If you put ist on the end, we are happiest, it means that it's the happiest you've ever been. So you're much happier than other times. Now, as you can see, when we have multiplying, we keep the y, and when we have happiest, the y disappears. Now, we are going to talk about that in a minute to show you why it changes. So here's a new rule about adding suffixes that starts with vowels to words of more than one syllable. So if you are adding one to a word, so if you're adding one to a word that ends in a silent e, so for example, bike, nice, hike, like, the word loses the silent e. So if you can't hear the e, the root word will lose the e, and you will just put the suffix on the end. So bike would be bikes, nice would be nicest, hike would be hiker. So we can see that because the e is on the end and because it is a silent e, we don't need to put es on the end of the e. We can take off the e and put es. Let's have a look at this one then. So when we've got copy and happy, because they end with a y, and we want to add er because we want copier and happiest, what we will do is we will take off the y and we will add we'll take off the y and put an I and then put er or est after it. So there are some exceptions. So skiing and taxiing, because ski is spelled SKI, we would not need to change it, we would just add ing on the end. Same with taxi, if it's taxi and ends in an I, we will just add ing on the end as well. So we can see here are some examples. So this is your task now. I want you to think of a root word, so just a word that stands on its own. So for example, I'm going to use the root word talk. Then I'm going to go through each of these suffixes and see which words I can put a suffix on. Now this is how you're going to set it out. So on a piece of paper, you're going to write the root word that you are thinking of. So I'm going to use something like talk. Now what I'm going to do, I'd always try and use an action because it makes it easier to think of the suffixes which will go. So talk, walk, speak, all of these. So talk. I'm going to go through. Can I have talked? Yes, I can. T-A-L. So I'm going to write underneath T-A-L-K-E-D. Then I'm going to have a look at my next one. Talkly. It's not quite a word, so I'm not going to write that one down. Talkless. Not quite. Talks. So we just have to be careful with some of them, and we need to think about how it's spelled. So for example, talks, I would spell talks T-A-L-K-S. So I wouldn't have E-S, it would be S. Then I've got talking. That one works, so I can write that one down. Talk-ing. I've got Asian, talkation, not quite worked. Talkus, no. Talkest, talkful, and talker, which I can see that talker, if you're a talker, means you like to talk a lot. So you're going to have a go. So you might want to as well underline your root word that you're going to be doing. Now I will give you some examples of some of the words. So if you want to write some of these down now and see if you can find the suffixes which finish them. So you could have talk, you could have walk, jump, shout, move, quick, slow, whisper, actually not whisper, don't put whisper down. You could though think of some other adverbs that you could think of. So if I think of, so I've got quick because I can think of quickly, and I can also think of how the other suffixes might work. So there I've given you probably 5. So I'd like you with those 5 to have a go and test it out just like I've done here. So to show you, so write the root word underneath, so it will be talk or jump or quick or slow. Then go through all the suffixes on here and see which one works and which one doesn't. So have a go at doing that first, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do next. Okay, so now you've had a go at finding all looking at a word and finding if you can put a suffix on the end of it. Now what I'd like you to do, I want you to put these into a sentence. So for example, if I use my example of talk, I know that I've got the words talked, talks, talking, and talker. So I'm going to write a sentence for each of these 4 to put the word into a sentence. So for example, it might be, my first one might be, Sarah quietly talked to her friend. So I've got an adverb in there as well, so you could try and put some extra detail, adjectives and adverbs. It could be that you could say, in Miss First class, Sarah talks a lot. So I've got talks in there as well. We've got talking now, so we could say, it could be something, I really love talking to my lovable grandma on the phone. And I've got talker, so you could say, I am a very good talker when it comes to telling somebody about Minecraft. Okay, so you can see if you can put some of these into some sentences. So obviously you've got your different words that you've had a go at doing. Now I'd like you to put each of these into a sentence to see how we can apply our words with our suffixes on into a sentence. So yours might look something like this. You write the title suffix, you write your subheading of the word that you're doing, and then in each and every single sentence you've got the different words. So these were just like I said, Sarah quietly talked to her friend. In Miss First class, Sarah talks a lot. I really love talking to my lovable grandma on the phone, and I am a very good talker when telling someone about Minecraft. So you can have a go at writing these. Now I'd like you to choose 3. So as I have used talk, I would like to see you use between 3 and 5 words and say what word it is, the different words that you have used, and then having the sentences underneath. So this should take you a good bit of time to get going, just so that you can understand how we can apply all the different suffixes to all the sentences so that it flows and we can see what the ending should be. Okay, so moving on to today's part of the lesson, and I want you to have a look about what do you notice about the layout of a waggle. So what does it look like? How do you know it's a play script? What do you notice? I want you to just have a quick look through, quick chat to yourself, to your parents. What do you notice about a play script? Now, last time you had a go at doing your scene 1, so we're going to start having a look at scene 2. So we wrote something down like this, where you wrote the main events of the story and you built it up so that you'd already you knew exactly what event was going to happen in each scene. So last time we wrote scene 1, this time we're going to have a go at writing our next scene, our scene 2. So I'd like you to have a think of these questions. So I know what I'm going to write. What are you going to write? So what's going to happen in scene 2? What will your second scene be about? Where will it be set? So I'd like you to think of these now, and then we're going to move on to actually starting to write it. So can you now have a go at writing the second scene? So set scene 2 and underline it with a ruler, just like my example here. And then what the narrator will do and say to introduce the next scene. So for example, my scene 2, my narrator might say, as the ugly stepsisters left in their horse-drawn carriage, Cinderella felt very alone, or felt all alone. Suddenly there was a flash of light and a mysterious woman appeared. So from my narrator speaking, I now know that the Cinderellas have left, and the stepsisters have left, and Cinderella is at home, and suddenly something is about to happen. There's been a flash of light and a woman has appeared. So I'd like you to have a think of now how you're going to introduce your second scene. Now please make sure it does follow on from your first scene. Don't leave your first scene at a point where, say for example, the stepsisters are still getting ready, and then all of a sudden they've now left. So please make sure it does flow and follow on, so that if you were to watch yours in a play at theatre, it would all follow on from each other. So please have a go at doing your next part, so your scene 2 and narrator, and then stop what you're doing, and then we're going to have another check to make sure we get it accurate. Now, once you've had a go at doing your narrator part, you're going to now have to think about what your characters are going to say next. So what is going to happen? So before you even start writing, I'd like you to think, what is going to happen in this scene? What's the outcome? So obviously for mine, my Cinderella would be, I want her to meet her fairy godmother, get ready for the ball, and go to the ball and arrive at the ball. So I'm going to make sure that all that information is in my second scene. So my narrator has said, as the ugly stepsisters left in their horse-drawn carriage, Cinderella felt all alone. Suddenly there was a flash of light and a mysterious woman appeared. Then Cinderella says, who are you? I might have put in some stage directions saying how she shrugged her shoulders. My fairy godmother then says, remember, starting a new line with the name first and the followed by the colon. I am your fairy godmother, beautiful Cinderella. So you can see there that the conversation is starting to build. The narrator then might say something like, as the fairy godmother stepped forward, Cinderella noticed the magical wand that she held in her hand. So the narrator can speak again to give you a little bit more information. It doesn't just need to be the characters. So I'd like you to have a go now at writing your second scene up to the next main event. So think about where you're trying to get to, what's your next event going to be. So in my case, it will be all the way up to Cinderella being at the ball. So I'd like you to have a go at doing that. Please try and get as many adjectives in there as well to really bring out the description in your writing. And then I'd love to see your scenes on Seesaw, please. That would be brilliant. So once you have finished that, I would like you to critique your work. So using this checklist, see if have you included all the features. So I'm going to first of all read what it says. So the first one follows on from the previous scene. So you'll have to read your previous scene to see how it finishes, to see if your starting narrator follows on. If it does, give it a tick. Characters on the left are followed by a colon, so I've got all my characters on my left hand side and they are followed by a colon, so I can give that a tick. I haven't used speech marks, so I can give that a tick. I've got a new line for every speaker, so I can give that a tick. Narrator speaks. I have got the narrator speaking, so I can give that a tick. Stage directions in brackets. Well, I haven't got any stage directions, so using a different colour I can now go and add these in. So shrugging. Put my stage directions in. So once I have added my stage directions, I can then go and give it a tick. I might want to put one in, or there might be more than one place. Lots of detail added through adjectives and adverbs. So let's have a look. Have I got any? So as the ugly stepsisters left in there. Oh, I think I could add one in, so I'm going to add in there horse-drawn, carriage. Cinderella felt all alone. Suddenly there was a flash of light and a woman appeared. I'm going to say how she appeared. I'm going to say a woman suspiciously appeared. Suspiciously. So I've got my adverb in there. Suspiciously appeared. Who are you? Fairy godmother says, I am your fairy godmother. And I'm going to put in there beautiful. Beautiful Cinderella. Okay, so I can now go and add. Yes, I've put in some adjectives. Yes, I've put in some adverbs, so I can tick those off. Have I used the correct punctuation? Oh, I haven't got, that needs to be a capital A, so I'll check that. Has Cinderella's got a capital? And then, yep, fantastic. Who are you? Oh, I need to turn that into a question mark, so I'll change that. Fairy godmother, I need a capital letter for fairy godmother. And then I can see, can you spot what I have done wrong? If you have noticed that in this bottom corner here, I have started the line when really it should be indented. So I'm going to put an arrow to show that I need to make sure that it starts. Because we need to remember, as if you've got an imaginary ruler on your page going down so that all is in line, apart from the name of the characters or the narrator, everything else is in line. So I'd like you to go and have a go at doing this to see, can you go back, adding using a different colour to add in extra detail, different sentence openers, and as best you can. So like there, I've just noticed I could have put suddenly there was a flash of light. So I'm continually making it up leveled to make it the best I can.